The very weird way Hollywood keeps lying to us about asteroid belts. 9 spacecraft have flown straight through the asteroid belt. Not one of them bothered to dodge a single rock. Not one of them even came close to hitting anything. And that should tell you everything you need to know about how badly Hollywood has been lying to you for decades. You remember the scene. The Empire Strikes Back, 1980. Han Solo throws the Millennium Falcon into an asteroid field while C-3PO panics in the background. The possibility of successfully navigating an asteroid field is approximately 3,720 to 1. Rocks are smashing into each other everywhere. The Falcon is weaving through gaps barely wider than the ship itself. It looks absolutely terrifying. And it's absolutely wrong. Here's what's actually going on in our asteroid belt. The belt sits between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. And yes, it contains millions of asteroids. Sounds packed, right? But consider this. The average distance between asteroids out there is roughly 600,000 miles, about 965,000 kilometers. That's 2.5 times the distance from the Earth to the Moon. You could fit our entire planet between 2 neighboring asteroids and still have room to spare on both sides. If you were standing on one asteroid and looked up, you probably wouldn't even be able to see the next closest one without a telescope. So why does Hollywood keep showing us these impossibly dense rock fields? Because empty space doesn't sell tickets. A ship cruising through a vast, quiet void where the nearest hazard is farther away than the Moon? That's not exactly edge-of-your-seat cinema, but it is reality. And we've tested this reality with real hardware. On July 15, 1972, NASA's Pioneer 10 became the first spacecraft ever to enter the asteroid belt. It spent 7 months carving a path roughly 270 million miles through the belt before emerging on the other side in February 1973. At the time, mission planners weren't totally sure what would happen. The density of debris in the belt wasn't precisely known. But their educated guess paid off. Pioneer 10 came through without a scratch. After that, 8 more spacecraft followed the same basic playbook. Pioneer 11, Voyager 1, Voyager 2, Ulysses, Galileo, which actually crossed the belt twice, Cassini, New Horizons, and Juno. None of them plotted a special course to weave around asteroids. None of them had any close calls. They just flew through, because there was nothing meaningful to avoid. Think about that for a second. We've been sending spacecraft through the asteroid belt since the early 1970s and have a perfect safety record, not because we're skilled pilots, but because there's just that much empty space between the rocks. Now, could things be different somewhere else in the universe? Possibly. In other star systems, asteroid belts might be younger or more densely packed. The James Webb Space Telescope actually detected what appear to be asteroid belts around other stars, like Fomalhaut. But here's the catch. A belt that was actually as crowded as the movie show wouldn't last very long. The asteroids would constantly collide with each other, breaking apart into smaller and smaller fragments until they ground themselves down into dust. Physics doesn't allow for a permanent, dense obstacle course of tumbling boulders. It's a self-correcting problem. So the classic science fiction scenario, a dense swarm of fast-moving rocks that you need to slalom through at high speed, almost certainly doesn't exist anywhere in nature. Our asteroid belt is more like a handful of gravel scattered across a football field the size of a continent. The gravel is real. The danger is not. Next time you watch a movie and someone white-knuckles their way through an asteroid field, just remember, in real life, the biggest challenge of crossing the asteroid belt isn't dodging rocks. It's staying awake during the trip. If this changed the way you think about space, drop a comment telling me which other space myth you want me to tackle next, and hit subscribe so you don't miss it when I do.